everybody. It is Saturday, January 4th, 2025. Happy New Year. Welcome to the High Risk Wrestling Podcast. I am your host, Jeremy Pierce. Check out the socials, Charismatic Creations on Facebook and YouTube, Charismatic_Creations52 on Instagram, and of course the 215 on Twitter. And ladies and gentlemen, we have a great show for you today. It is the second annual Cutter Awards. This is the year-end award show. We've got a bevy of awards. We've got a bunch of nominees, so we are going to have a good time today. I am very much looking forward to the show. Who won? Who got snubbed? It's going to be a good show, but for now, y'all know what's next, so just go on and hit my music. Welcome, one and all, ladies and gentlemen, to the second annual Cutter Awards, and these are your awards. This is in my opinion, the premier award show for what was the best of 2024, our breakout star of the year, our best men's and women's heels performer, so on and so forth. Who got match of the year? Who won best showrunner? Best promotion. This is going to be a great time with a great show today. And we're going to start off with Breakout Star of the Year. Now, explaining this award is very simple. It's not about how long you've been in the company. It's about when you finally broke through, when you finally got that recognition, and you were on the tip of everyone's tongue. And the nominees are Joe Hendry, Jacob Fatu, Mariah May, Harley Cameron, The Outrunners, and Kyle Fletcher. And the Cutter goes to Jacob Fatu. Now, this was a very hard award to really pick, because all these people really showed up and showed out in 2024. But even though Mariah May ended up as a champion and Kyle Fletcher got big W's and Joe Hendry went viral, Jacob Fatu immediately became the top priority of the bloodline and making waves. He is at the forefront of everything, and when he stands opposite someone in the ring, the crowd gets up. The fans are ready. They want it. And the future is very bright for him. This award honestly could have gone to anybody, especially Joe Hendry and Mariah May. But I ended up giving it to Jacob Fatu. Next up, Rookie of the Year. Now, this is not about your first year in the business. This is not about if you're new. This is essentially if you debuted, or if you maybe went to another company in your first year there. So that's how we determine the Rookie of the Year. And the nominees are Kazuchika Okada for AEW, Mercedes Moné for AEW, Ethan Page for NXT, the Motor City Machine Guns for Friday Night SmackDown, Julia for NXT, and Stephanie Vaquer also for NXT. And the Cutter goes to Mercedes Moné. This was honestly a two-horse race between Mercedes and Okada, but even though Okada is your reigning Continental Champion, there have been maybe a bump in the road here and there, but Mercedes has only had one, and that was that match against Britt Baker. But she is undefeated since joining AEW, coming in as not only the New Japan Strong Women's Champion, but also winning the TBS Championship and putting on banger after banger. Yes, this was the right move for Tony Khan to sign Mercedes Moné. You really can't fault him for that. She is the best in the business, probably the best worker to Day, but Mercedes Moné walks away with the Rookie of the Year award. Best Men's Heel Performer. What man was dirty, was dastardly, named Dominic Mysterio? These men made you hate them and kind of want to punch them in the face. The nominees are Moose, The New Day, Christian Cage, Jon Moxley, Kyle Fletcher, and Solo Sikoa. And the cutter goes to Kyle Fletcher. Now, if the New Day had turned on Big E much sooner, they probably would have won this award. Christian has been around for a bit of a minute. But Kyle Fletcher absolutely turning on Kenny Omega, joining the Don Callis family, and then absolutely blooding him, battering him, damn near putting him on his deathbed, has him take home the award. AEW clearly sees a lot in Kyle Fletcher, with him getting big wins not only against Will Ospreay, but also in the Continental Classic and making the semi-finals. Kyle Fletcher aligning himself with Don Callis is a thing of beauty, and ladies and gentlemen, they know what he's doing, and he knows what he is doing. Best Women's Face Performer. Opposite of the men, these are the women that you cheer for, that you love, that when their music comes on, when you see them in the ring, you get up and you stand and you are extremely happy to see them. The nominees are Rhea Ripley, Willow Nightingale, Jordynne Grace, Sol Ruca, Sarie, and Julia. And the cutter goes to Jordynne Grace. This was close only because Willow Nightingale's in this category, and she's like the ultimate baby face. But Jordynne has been carrying TNA, and now it looks like she'll be carrying NXT. She has been the face of what you aspire for a woman's star to be. She is dominant, she is over, and rightfully so, that she takes home this award. Willow will probably win this award many times to come, but not today. Jordynne Grace just takes this one home. Return of the year. Who was gone? Who came back? And it's not only about who came back, but whose return was shocking and was the most impactful. The nominees are Shinsuke Nakamura, The Wyatt Six, Braun Strowman, Jamie Hayter, Julia Hart, and Powerhouse Hobbs. And the cutter goes to Jamie Hayter. This one feels good because we really didn't expect her to come back this year. Well, last year. We did not expect her to come back at all. We expected her to be paired up with Britt Baker again in some like backstage segment. But her returning at All In on the pre-show with Soraya and Harley Cameron caught everybody off guard. And I know there are those that didn't like her returning on the pre-show, but it worked. It absolutely worked. She was out for 15 months, maybe longer. And when you hear nothing, that means something is brewing. And her returning was just absolutely amazing. She even had a quick match, got a W, got her feet wet, and now Jamie Hayter is back, and we know what's next for her. Feud of the year. Simply put, what rivalry garnered the most heat, garnered the most reaction, made you say, yeah, give me some more? You may not have liked the outcome, but sometimes it's about the journey. And the nominees are the Death Riders versus AEW, Kevin Owens versus Cody Rhodes, Drew McIntyre versus CM Punk, Bronson Reed versus Seth Rollins, Willow Nightingale versus Chris Statlander, and AJ Francis versus PCO. And the cutter goes to Drew McIntyre versus CM Punk, come on, y'all. We knew this was never in doubt. This was probably the one award which was very, very obvious. These two really threw some barbs at each other. Sorry, threw some major shots at each other, and absolutely tore into each other. I may not like the outcome, but it led to a fantastic match, and these two really upped the ante, and it showed you that sometimes WWE can give you an amazing feud. Pay-per-view of the year. What event was the best? Top to bottom, who gave you just their all? Who, ladies and gentlemen, gave you that best show and say, yeah, I am all for this? The card was amazing. The matches were good. There might be a hiccup here and there, but overall, you can't complain. The nominees are AEW Revolution, AEW All Out, AEW All In, NXT Heatwave, WWE WrestleMania 40 Sunday night, and New Japan Wrestle Kingdom 18. And the cutter goes to AEW Revolution. This show was headlined by Sting's last match, and an absolutely fantastic tornado tag team match as he teamed up with Darby Allin, his protege, being accompanied by Ric Flair and his two sons, taking on the Young Bucks. Perfect partners who can give you the best. And not only that, this show featured many other good matches. We had the 12-man tag on the pre-show. We had Chris and Willow teaming up to take on Julia Hart and Sky Blue. And then we had a couple other things. We had the finals of the Continental Classic with Eddie Kingston defeating Bryan Danielson. So not the finals, but putting the Continental crown on the line, getting that big win versus Bryan Danielson. We had an all-star scramble match full of just meat and beef. The BCC taking on FTR. Timeless Tony Storm versus Deonna Purrazzo. Ospreay versus Takeshita in a banger. And Joe retaining the AEW World Championship. This was an absolutely stacked and amazing card. And yes, the best show of the year. Best Women's Heel Performer. These are the women that you love to hate. These are the women that made you feel dirty inside and made you want to see them get their comeuppance. The nominees are Mariah May, Athena, Roxanne Perez, Liv Morgan, Jada Parker, and Ash by Elegance. And the cutter goes to Liv Morgan. This was essentially a two-horse race between Liv Morgan and Mariah May, and it was Liv that ultimately came out on top just for everything she's done, defeating Becky Lynch, taking the championship from Rhea Ripley, taking her man, pretty much usurping leadership of the Judgment Day. And even though I think Liv is in the right, you hate her. Being along with Dirty Dom makes you hate her. Yes, Mariah May fulfilled her plan, but something about Liv getting her ultimate revenge and saying what she was going to do and fulfilling that promise, that's what ultimately put her over the top. So our best heel women's performer goes to Liv Morgan. Best men's face performer, the man with the plan, the man who makes you scream, who makes you shout, who makes you cheer, who makes you cry, and gives you everything. The nominees are Will Ospreay, Cody Rhodes, Daniel Garcia, Joe Hendry, the Outrunners, and Trick Williams. And the cutter goes to Will Ospreay. Yeah. I think Cody won this last year, but Ospreay was just on another level, man. He made you care for him. He gave you everything inside that ring, outside that ring. And that's ultimately what we want from a performer. This was a really good category, and even though I truly believe that Ospreay deserved this, anyone could have got this. Danny Garcia with his return, Joe Hendry getting super over, and the Outrunners just coming out of nowhere. But this was Ospreay's award. Men's Tag Team of the Year. Who's the best male tag team? Who had the great reigns, had the great matches, and was consistent in everything that they did? The nominees are the Motor City Machine Guns, DIY, the Hardys, ABC, Fraxium, and the Judgment Day. And the cutter goes to Fraxium. Nathan Frazier and Axiom somehow, some way, are able to continuously pull rabbits out of their heads. These dudes are just good. The current NXT Tag Team Champions, they find ways to win while also giving you great matches. At some point, they are going to split up, but hopefully that is not any time soon, because they are absolutely carrying the NXT Tag Team division. These two dudes will be future single stars, but as a tag team, we had them as that will it work, won't it? But they somehow are making it work and have become a bona fide team, really as resembling the Bar in just their continuity with each other. Women's Tag Team of the Year. What women's team was dominant? Who put on the best show? Who you knew just aren't losing? The nominees are Last Legend and Jakara Jackson, Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill, Spitfire, Chelsea Green and Piper Niven, and the Militia. And the cutter goes to Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill. This was really never in doubt, so much so that when PWI released their tag team with 250 for the year, they came in at number one. Yes, it was a team that I didn't like being put together, but we knew why they were being put together, and they just dominated. It helped having Jay be with Bianca in a good partner, and you can clearly see Jay getting better and better in the ring, learning as she goes. These two were just a dominant tag team, coming second to none, honestly, between both the men and women of the year. Faction of the year. What group, what team were successful, dominated, who you knew were going to be there front and center? The nominees are the Judgment Day, the System, the Death Riders, the Bloodline, the Final Testament, and the Elite. And the cutter goes to the Death Riders. Yeah. If this was last year, it'd be a different story. But this year, after taking out Bryan Danielson and taking the AEW World Championship, taking the Trios Championships, and putting the entire roster on notice, Death Riders are here. Spinning out of the Blackpool Combat Club, the Death Riders have a mission statement: break down AEW, build it up, and do it with violence. And they are doing it very, very beautifully with violence. They have enemies from all sides, from all corners, and yet they are still able to fight them and fend them off. The Death Riders' mission will be completed one way or another. Tag Team Match of the Year. What match featuring pairings, trios, was the best? And if you think about it, we know this award's going to, but let's get to the nominees. WrestleMania 40, Saturday night, Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins versus The Rock and Roman Reigns. AEW Dynamite Grand Slam, the Young Bucks versus Will Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher. AEW Revolution, Sting and Darby Allin versus the Young Bucks for the AEW World Tag Team Championships. Also, that Grand Slam match for the tag team titles. From NXT, Fraxium versus Cedric Alexander, Javon Evans for the NXT Tag Team Championships. And from AEW Dynamite, the Young Bucks versus Private Party for the AEW World Tag Team Championships. And the cutter obviously goes to Sting and Darby Allin versus the Young Bucks. Tornado tag match for the AEW World Tag Team Championship. Sting's final match, ladies and gentlemen, was a thing of beauty. Like we said before, him with the Darby paired up to go against the Young Bucks was just, it worked for everything from the career retrospective, the intro music by Metallica, Sting being accompanied by his sons, and the Young Bucks being the swarmy assholes that they are, just worked. This was a beautiful send-off for a beautiful man, ending with a beautiful, beautiful moment. Male Wrestler of the Year. What man came out on top? Now, this is an award that is very, very hard to pick from because the nominees are absolutely fantastic. And it was really hard to pick one person, but this guy really put his best foot forward. And the nominees are Cody Rhodes, Will Ospreay, Swerve Strickland, Drew McIntyre, Gunther, and Zack Sabre Jr. And the cutter goes to Gunther. The ring general was on another level this year. Yes, I know many of you would say give this to Will Ospreay or give it to Swerve or give it to Drew, but Gunther breaking through, not only becoming the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion of all time, but then winning the World Heavyweight Championship and showing some true character, especially in his feuding with Damian Priest. It just worked. This guy, I think, much like Will Ospreay, is incapable of having a bad match, and Gunther has been just a fine World Heavyweight Champion. This guy gets what we've been waiting for him to break through, and it finally happened. Female Wrestler of the Year. Much like the men, one of these women stood out above the packs, and this one was much harder to choose than the men. These women have all put up amazing matches or moments and have had fantastic years. And the nominees are Athena, Liv Morgan, Jordynne Grace, Roxanne Perez, Mercedes Moné, and Mariah May. And the cutter goes to Athena. I know many of you probably won't like this, but here's the thing. She came into 2024 as the Women's World Champion of Ring of Honor. She ended up becoming the longest reigning champion in the history of Ring of Honor. She then left 2024 still as champion and put on banger matches with banger feuds. I don't know if she's ever going to lose at this point. Yes, every single woman nominated here could have won this. Liv Morgan had a fantastic year. Same with Jordynne Grace, Roxanne Perez, Mercedes Moné, Mariah May, especially those last two. But Athena breaking the record books, becoming one of the longest reigning champions, not just of the men and the women, but of just wrestling in general, of the modern era. You have to give it to her. She is our forever champion. Women's Match of the Year. What match did the ladies do that was like, yeah, this was great. This was absolutely great. And ladies and gentlemen, this was a hard award to pick until something happened recently. Let's get into the nominees. From New Japan Strong Style Evolved, Mercedes Moné versus Hazuki for the New Japan Strong Women's Championship. From AEW Double or Nothing, Willow Nightingale versus Mercedes Moné in a Chicago versus Mercedes Moné for the TBS Championship. Stardom All-Star Grand Queendom, Mayu Iwatani versus Sari for the IWGP Women's Championship. From AEW All Out, Chris Statlander versus Willow Nightingale in a Chicago Street Fight. AEW World's End, Mercedes Moné versus Chris Statlander for the AEW TBS Championship. And from New Japan Stardom Historic X Crossover 2, Mayu Iwatani versus Momo Watanabe for the IWGP Women's Championship. And the cutter goes to Mercedes Moné versus Hazuki for the New Japan Strong Women's Championship at New Japan Strong Style Evolved. If you look at the 10 best matches of the women of 2024, they either feature Mayu Iwatani, Mercedes Moné, Willow Nightingale, or Chris Statlander. Yeah. And some are going to be upset that there's no WWE match in here, but the WWE don't really give you great matches. The two best women's matches in WWE this year were the Women's Iron Survivor match and Bayley versus Io at WrestleMania. And they don't come close to any of these matches that I've named, and some of the other ones that didn't even make the list, because there's another Willow match that's not on this list. There's another Mercedes match. There's like 2 Mercedes matches that aren't on this list that should be here. But Mayu versus Suzuki was just a thing of beauty. It happened very recently, probably within the last month, and absolutely claimed, when it was done, it claimed the fame of, yeah, this is the best match for the women of 2024. And then Mercedes had another banger against Chris Statlander like a week later. Mercedes Moné was on a roll this year. She has probably 4 or 5 or 6 of the best matches of the year, but this one versus Suzuki was just a thing of beauty, and glad to see Suzuki get some play. Man, this was a really, really tough award because all of these matches were absolutely fantastic. Men's match of the year. What male match featuring the men stole the show and really was like, yeah, I can just watch this forever. So who are they? The nominees. From AEW Revolution, Sting and Darby Allin versus the Young Bucks for the AEW World Tag Team Championship in a Tornado Tag match, Sting's retirement match. From Wrestle Dynasty, Will Ospreay versus Bryan Danielson. From WWE Bad Blood, CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre in the Hell in a Cell match. From AEW New Japan Forbidden Door, Swerve Strickland versus Will Ospreay for the AEW World Championship. From AEW All In, Swerve Strickland versus Bryan Danielson for the AEW World Championship. And from AEW Revolution, Will Ospreay versus Konosuke Takeshita. And the cutter goes to Will Ospreay versus Bryan Danielson from Wrestle Dynasty. Perfect 10. 5 out of 5. This was the match of the year. And Will Ospreay's on this list a lot because there's like 4 other matches featuring Will Ospreay that couldn't make the cut. But all of these matches were absolutely fantastic. I enjoyed every single one of them. But this Ospreay Danielson match, it was a prove-it match. It was a match that's like, all right, these are 2 of the best ever. Will Ospreay, let's see what you got, man. You're going up against what many consider the greatest wrestler of all time in Bryan Danielson. Let's see what you got. And ladies and gentlemen, they put on a fantastic show. Wow. Go and watch this match. Go and watch all of these matches, but they rightfully so earned the cutter. Head Booker Showrunner of the Year. Who ran the best show of the year? Now, mind you, just because you won Head Booker doesn't mean you can win the best weekly show or promotion of the year. It happens from time to time. So who gave you the best show week in and week out? The nominees are Shawn Michaels from WWE NXT, Tommy Dreamer for Impact TNA Wrestling, Triple H for Raw and SmackDown, and Tony Khan for AEW Ring of Honor. And the cutter goes to Shawn Michaels for NXT. Something changed. Something happened with NXT this year where not only were they able to put on a consistently good show, but they were able to use most of the roster, especially the women. The women have become really the stars of NXT. Shawn Michaels has booked a fantastic show. Yes, he's made a misstep here and there, but not like the other guys. He has really given you a premier show that you can look forward to every single week. And best weekly show? What show has been the best every single week? It is very much that simple. The nominees are AEW Collision, AEW Dynamite, Friday Night SmackDown, Monday Night Raw, NXT, and Impact Wrestling. And the cutter goes to NXT. Much like being the head booker, when you've been that consistently good, you're going to get the best weekly show, and that's what we got with NXT. And listen, Legion, let's not bear much and wait any longer. He won head booker. He won Weekly Show. Promotion of the Year, yes, the nominees are WWE, AEW, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, NXT, and Ring of Honor. But the Promotion of the Year goes to NXT. They were consistently the best all year. And as much as I love what AEW did this year, there were some bumps in the road. Same goes for Impact Wrestling. But Shawn Michaels has crafted something special with NXT. But those are our awards, ladies and gentlemen. What do you think? Love the cutters. Love the cutters. And it's always fun doing the nominations, picking and choosing what can happen, who's going to win. I can't wait to see what 2025 brings. Look on the screen what we got coming up. Got a couple good things on you for the horizon. Check out the socials, Charismatic Creations on Facebook and YouTube. Charismatic_Creations52 on Instagram. Of course, the 215 on Twitter. And as always, Anna J, Willow Nightingale, Chris Statlander, Bailey, Gigi Dolan, and Isla Dawn. Holla at your boy. Peace.